What happened? Hey everybody, this is Jordan Rudess, and I think a lot of you know who I am and what I do, but some of you might not know that I'm also the head of the music experience for ROLI, and it's a very proud position that I have, working with an amazing company, makers of the Seaboard, which is the instrument that I have in front of me. It's an extremely unique instrument that I'm really very excited about. And the more I play it over the last year or two, the more I really love it. And the first thing that you should know about is that this Seaboard, maybe not this particular one, although certainly I won't refuse an offer if you can make it. The Seaboard is available at ROLI.com. We have three versions of it: the LFE, which is an 88-note version. We have the stage version, which you're looking at today. And we also have the studio version, which is a smaller type of Seaboard. For those of you who have Seaboards out there and have burning questions about technical things, well, we want to support you in every way that we can. And when I say that the support staff is handpicked, I really truly mean it, because I think I interviewed some of them myself to make sure that they were really good. So you can contact support at roli.com/support, and I'm sure my staff will be putting that in the chat window right this very moment. Watch this. I'll just go like this and it'll happen. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the newsletter. ROLI has a very cool newsletter. We have a very cool website. Try to do things right there, very artistically, with a nice concept of design and music and all these good things. The newsletter, we encourage that. We want you to get all our news and special announcements and whatever deals that we have going on. You can sign up for the newsletter at roli.com. So, the purpose of this masterclass is to say hello to all of you and kind of start a whole new thing here. I want to do masterclasses pretty often because I feel like this is a new instrument. It's uncharted territory. It's the kind of instrument that to some people is like, oh my God, what is that? And even to some of us who own these, it's kind of like, wow, what is in front of me? How do you play this? What's going on? So I've been playing it almost since the beginning. One or two guys that have been playing it longer than I have. But the cool thing is that we kind of, course of time, have been able to wrap our heads around it and really get a feel for some of the things that you can do. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take you through some of the things that I've been thinking about, kind of like my journey with this instrument, and in hopes that you can, that you can kind of like maybe get one day and become a keyboardist. And if you have one, to get some ideas about maybe things that you might think about doing. And this is an evolving subject. This is something that's going to be changing. I'm talking to keyboardists, some of my other guys, people like Marco Peri, and Heen over at the company, and Gerald Peter, some of the guys who really know how to, get around on the Seaboard. And we're developing techniques. There should be a book like a for Seaboardists. Anyway, look at the basics. We call the keyboard, you know, it is a keyboard, yes. It's based on a piano form factor. And what's really interesting, if you go to play like a C major chord, it's exactly the same distance as on a piano. Like if you go to play an octave, that distance, the middle of a C here, and this exactly the same as on my Steinway piano, which is really cool to think about. So therefore, if you're a pianist and you're, used to these kind of distances between the chords, playing scales, all those things will be the same. So to get, that's something to really understand as you go into it, because it really, really helps with playing. So we call this keyboard key waves because the Seaboard is very slippery and it's wavy. And, that's the whole beauty of it. It's kind of, you can do your standard playing of notes, but you can also slide around. It's a very kind of slippery instrument, much like a violin or a wind instrument like a saxophone or or a trumpet. And it's even very much like a guitar, because check it out. So you've seen pianists like that are always, playing the piano, and they probably like shaking the key like this and, making that face. And the face, it does nothing, and the gesture does do thing. And so it's really important when you touch not only when you first strike down on it, but everything that happens after you initially press the key. First of all, when you play a note on the Seaboard, you want to be right at the center of it, that you have kind of peaks and valleys. So you want to be in the center of the peak. So let's say you're playing this G here. You don't want to be in the dip on either side. You want to be in the center of it. And when you press it, you don't have to press really hard to get sound. The Seaboard is actually very sensitive, probably more sensitive than most people realize. It's not hard to get sound out of the Seaboard. So by pressing in too hard, that's probably the wrong approach. You can press lightly. But anyway, you press right in the center of the peak. And then once you press the key, that's not the end of the event. We like to think of the Seaboard as a continuous motion synthesizer. So when you press the key, you press into it. And as you press into it, things can happen. The sound can grow, the timbre can change, right? So there's a lot of room to press in. Matter of fact, if I switch to another sound, like maybe this one, like this sound, yeah. So if I start out, press really lightly, right? You hear this. But if I press in, you start hearing that kind of interesting modulation. Here we go. So I'll press harder. Cool thing is about this standard find on a keyboard where you press the key and it's kind of like you press it down and there's nowhere to go, but it does something to the sound. This, there actually is physical space. There's somewhere to go, which is really, really cool. And the other thing worth mentioning, even at the very beginning here, is understand that the Seaboard actually has independent voices for every touch. So if you do play a chord, look, let's say I'll play a 3-note chord with one note down here, right? Another 2 up here. Pressing them all very lightly. I'll do it again. Okay, pressing them lightly. Now I'll press into the left-hand note. At the top. Now I'll press into the top. Bend the top, but not the left. Now I'll bend the left hand. So everything is completely independent. If I switch to a sound like maybe this one, this should be fairly clear. Yeah, this is a really clear sound. So let's say I play a chord like this. So if I want to leave this alone, press into the top note, and then like bend the top. This can be absolutely still. So what you can see immediately is that I can put all my inflections in my right hand as if I or a joystick kind of thing in the left hand. So I don't need to be doing anything with any other kind of, you see the Seaboard is kind of very open, and it's spacey in the sense that it doesn't have sliders, it doesn't have knobs on it, and well, it has the one main knob. But the beauty of it is that to do any kind of inflections, it's all done with the sound. And actually, I see that people are asking for the instrument to be a little louder. So yeah, we're going to turn it up a little bit for those of you who are saying. Anyway, so my point is that the beauty of it is that everything is under your fingertips. That's what we tried to design here, something that would be graceful and musical under your fingertips. So you could play, hold a note, and express something. So every note is totally independent. I can press into one note, the other. I can bend one note and not the other. I can bend two notes and not the other. And it really opens up a whole new channel of expression for a keyboardist. It gives the fact that I have 10 fingers that actually can operate on an instrument new meaning. So by using the latest technology and putting it into the Seaboard, we're making it that much more kind of like connected with the person's physical being, and in that sense, even more of an organic instrument than ever before. And I guess, you know, to think of it this way, you know, on a piano, if you play the notes, after you strike them, you're done. But on the Seaboard, if you hold down 5, and I want to put some vibrato on there, and nothing else, and bend it, I need to have a lot of control. So it opens up that new kind of expression, which is so exciting. So let's talk about the way that you actually, more about the way you actually play the Seaboard, because, you know, it can be a new concept. First of all, there is, and before I go on, I want to say that I'm going to of time where I like check out your questions and I answer your questions and we focus on them. Right now I want to go through kind of like the course that I want to teach here, because I think it's really important to say some of these things. But I will spend some time the second half probably just playing and answering questions as well. So thanks for, you know, checking this out and being patient. So let's check it out. So I said that you play right on the center of the key wave. But what I didn't say is there's a ribbon at the top of the key waves, and there's a ribbon at the bottom, right? So you have a choice to play on either ribbon, and it's not ribbon. This is not your standard ribbon that you'd find like on a CS80 or a K2600. This ribbon is actually a continuation of the notes. So what's really cool is you could play on the ribbon. Like I could play like a simple fifth here and express a melody up here just on the ribbon. That's pretty cool. So I have this entire like ribbon surface, you know, theremin style. But you'll also that it when I stop at a certain point, it's in tune. That's because we have some software that's very intelligent. And also, I'm tracking the key. So if I play a note on the ribbon right below, like this E, it'll be an E. If I play on the ribbon right above the E, it's E. So anywhere from the top of the ribbon all the way through the note is an E. So I can play it anywhere. I can play a C major scale down here. Or I can play it on the key waves. Or I can play it, whoops, up here. And depending on what, if I want to slide to black notes, a lot of times I'll use the top ribbon, because that way if I'm sliding like from D flat to B flat, I can, right? I can slide it and then feel the black key. And that's something you'll notice people who've been playing the instrument for a while will do that. If they're playing along, you know, like you want to slide here, they'll slide if they're going to a black note at the top, and usually you stay pretty close to the seaboard as well. You don't slide like at the edge here, because then you can't next to the note. And the same is even true for the bottom ribbon. If you're sliding to a note, if you stay kind of close to the notes, you can even feel as the white note bumps go by. So for you people out there who have a Seaboard, and I know that some of you are there. Matter of fact, if you do have a Seaboard, just type in the chat window and tell me that you do, because I know we also have this open to the public, which is fun, because then people can find out about the Seaboard that way. But I'm curious how many Seaboardists we have out there. So I'm kind of looking at the chat window to see who we have playing Seaboard out there. What? That's not an answer. Somebody said what? Okay. Well, I'll let my moderators keep their eye on that, because I don't see. Either there's no Seaboardists out there, or everybody's more interested in Disneyland. Which I saw something about Disneyland. That's really funny. Yeah, I'm going to actually, I just saw somebody say a heavier tone. I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually call up a synthesizer called Reaper. The first synthesizer I was playing was Equator, and that's a product that we're coming out with, which has a lot of sounds, but I also have heavier sounds on Reaper. So that's loading in right now, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So, anyway, so as that's loading, so yeah, there's a ribbon at the top, there's a ribbon at the bottom, and you can play on the ribbon, you can play off the ribbon, you can play as you like. Let's see what this might be a little bit loud, Ariel. Let's see. Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, so this is a pretty cool sound. So you can get the feeling here. So what's really cool is I can do my lead thing. And what's great is, you know, usually when you're playing like at a standard synthesizer, you're limited to the range modulation of the pitch modulation wheel, which is true as well. But on the Seaboard, you're not. You can do, and also set the speed of the modulation. So a lot of times on a you know, standard synthesizer, you'll set a semitone or whatever, a fifth, and you'll bend on that, and that's it. And then you'll move the modulation wheel, maybe some kind of vibrato. The beauty here is that I can bend a whole step on the ribbon. I can bend a third. I can bend a major third, fourth. And I kind of call this my Steve Vai mode on the Seaboard, because, you know, he's so great with the whammy bar, and he can, you know, be holding a note, and he kind of gets anywhere. And when he gets there, it's like really, you really can't do that on a traditional synthesizer. You just can't do it. It's like would be kind of almost impossible. So, but on the Seaboard, of course. And the other thing that's great is the idea of being able to control your own vibrato. Because, you know, when you think about like your favorite guitar players, for example, they're, you know, what makes their sound is the way they bend pitch and the speed and the depth of the. So you might have like a Steve Morse kind of thing where you go, you know, a quick vibrato, or a Petrucci where it's more like, you know, slower, or some people even do a, or really super wide. So having that control, I think, a whole new breed of keyboard musicians who actually develop kind of like music based on like this, the intensity of their vibrato, the way that they bend pitch, the way that they control volume. It's very, it's really interesting how, you know, that can, you know, really come to life on a Seaboard when you think about it. And it also comes to life when you think about controlling like acoustic instruments, like, you know what, I've got to quit Equator because that's playing in the background. Let me do that. Good. Ah, yes. Although it was a pretty cool layer. So you can like slap at the Seaboard, get it to crunch. You can slide like you would on an upright bass. You can be as wide as you want. You can use the ribbon. Something I didn't say, which is really, really important. So one of the things you can do with the Seaboard, as you've been seeing, is you can bend notes on the ribbon itself, right? But you can also bend notes on the key waves themselves, which is really, really cool. Play like from this note to this note, and I want to bend the pitch like a slide, in this case on an upright bass. I use a gesture board. For you Seaboardists out there, you just need to basically do legato to your legato, so you really connect between the notes. So if you connect half steps like this anywhere, you'll get a bend. So I this kind of sound, definite, pitches without any pitch bend. Or I can use this gesture, this legato kind of gesture too. So I have a choice when I'm playing. I can slide on the ribbon, or I can slide on the notes themselves, and I use a little combination of them. If I go to this sound, this might be a good sound to kind of show you some ideas. That's not the one I wanted to play. I'll get back to that one. This one, yeah. Oh, perfect. So this is a great, great Seaboard sound because it's very, very fast. It's right under your fingers. So I'll show you some stuff. First of all, notice how expressive this sound is to pressure. So you can play a note very lightly, right? Then you can press into it, and then this sound I'm playing right now is actually F expansion, as well as the other like more aggressive lead sound. I think it's Native Instruments guitar rig, and that gives it, the guitar rig is a great program. It gives it all. This one is really nice because it's very clear, and you can really hear what's going on. So again, what's really interesting to notice is that you can bend the pitch by the way that you gesture into the keyboard. You can also bend the pitch on the ribbon. So here's the thing. Here's one of the techniques that I use on the Seaboard. A lot of times, if I want to get from one note to the other note, let's say I'm playing something in D major, like I'm just going, and I want to slide like from here to here. So I'll take my thumb, I'll do it a few times, and then I'll explain it. So you can get really, really slippery. And here's for you guys out there who have Seaboards and want to try it, and for those of you who will be buying a Seaboard in the future, because I'm sure a lot of you who play keyboards or other instruments as well will want to do this, because it's really a great way to control sound. And it has a piano keyboard starting point, which I find to be very important in the world of creating new instruments, to give somebody something that's not entirely different, where you have no idea what's going on. And as you know, I've played some of those instruments too, which can be fun, but keyboard even, I'm a trained pianist, and the fact that this has a keyboard, I mean, I can use my piano chops to get around on it, plus my concept of bending, like on my apps, like MorphWiz and Geosynthesizer, and what I do and have done on the Continuum. So here's the technique. And you play on the key wave itself, right? And then you catch the note with your thumb. I'm actually using the side of my thumb, right, kind of over here, if you can see. And I play the note, and while I'm holding the note, I catch it with my thumb, and then I use my thumb as a way to slide one point to the next, and I slide up and down. It's almost like I think of it like an old typewriter or something, where you saw the little what was it called? The little piece go back and forth, sliding around. I want my hand to travel if I want to go. Sliding all around. And the great thing is that, again, the ribbon is tracking the keyboard. So you should try this at home on your Seaboard, or imagine it in your head if you're a future Seaboard owner. You play a note, your thumb catches, won't reattack, and then slide to another note. When you get there, right under it, reconnect. So I'm just going from E to G. So just as you get to your destination, you can land on it, on the actual key. Note. And that's one of the really good techniques to use. Very important. I'll do when I'm playing, just as almost like a musical technique. Let's switch to this sound. This is a cool sound. I'll play a little bit for you first. I love this sound because it really musically can bring me into this place where the sliding is, it's like a guitar sound. You think about a guitarist who plays every note, and every note is a different kind of thing. Maybe you vibrato this one, you don't this one, and then you slide this one, and not this one, and then you vibrato. Every note is articulated and expressed, and pressed into in different ways. It gets so musical. But what's cool is you realize how important the sliding is. And, for certain kinds of music, and most instruments will slide, which is something to really point out, whether you're a violin, a trumpet, a trombone, a cello, a human voice, a good lead player and a synthesizer. So in this case, having that kind of sliding opens up all new worlds. And I will tell you that, you guys, if you're just joining us, late, that keyboard, there are 3 different models that I believe are available right now. The LFE, which is the limited first edition, the Stage, and the Studio, and they're all available at ROLI.com. And I want to tell you, one of the reasons that I am the head of music experience at ROLI and spend a lot of time playing this and being into this and kind of spreading the word and doing these kind of things is because I really believe in the Seaboard. Like a far-fetched thing that only a small number of people will play. I think as the Seaboard, this technology develops, I think we're going to see more and more in people's homes. People who generally have keyboards, and next to their little keyboard is a computer, whether they're an arranger or a composer, if they play the violin or the slide trombone and they do some kind of arrangements, you're going to want to do it. You're going to want to have a Seaboard around because you can't express like that on anything else. This is totally like hands-on kind of cool thing. And again, the more I play it, the more I really love it. If you're doing any kind of like arranging, once again, you're probably using standard instruments, maybe. Saxes. And there's no better way to express an acoustic instrument than on a wheel and a mod wheel, and it's not going to be as natural, and you can't get all the really refined expression. Like in this sound, what happens with pressure. Vibrato, the amount of pressure. Really fun to play some of these acoustic sounds. Sax sound, like something like a flute, is also pretty cool. Or just because of the touch is so responsive, you know, it'll receive like velocity, so you can, or you can really get that airy kind of tull sound. So whether it's, you know, a synthesized sound or something that's, you know, very kind of ethnic sound, you can really express things like that. And that flute and the sax, the SWAM plugins, it's called Sample Modeling, SWAM. You can look it up online. They do some great stuff. It's kind of a combination between physical and sampling, and they are the best. And the Seaboard works very well with the SWAM sounds. They're monophonic right now, so you're playing single notes. But, you know, it's really great stuff. And I think that they're actually going to be expanding their library as well. As my beard expands, I think their library will expand as well. And after this, I'm going to be giving beard tips as well. I'm going to be doing a course on how to separate your beard into two parts, because that's going to be the new look that we have in the next Dream Theater tour. I'm trying to expand this. It wraps around my neck and you know, down my back, and then I can fasten it as a belt, because while I'm playing the Seaboard, I want to have extra core support. So I thought I would just grow my beard to do that. So yes, we want to do like two-part beard harmony, and that's pretty much the concept here. So I encourage all of you to check out the latest Seabeard videos as well as the Seaboard videos, because well, we can do a lot of good things with independent streaks of bearding, which is important in the world of you know, music, seaboarding, and entertainment. So while my beard plays out like this, I think I should play a sound that's a little bit spacier as well. I like this one. It's cool. I can play my drone here, right? I've got a nice drone. I can talk to you while I drone. It doesn't take too much to. This is like a big challenge, talking and playing a drone at the same time. So and I can lean into the drone. I can conduct it with my hand. Get a nice pulse going. You guys can be meditating. You can be spacing out. You can be thinking about what the new Dream Theater album will be like. Craziness that we've been dealing with to get that going. And while I'm mellowing out, I can add my right hand and kind of. I love this patch because it's so slippery. Again, check out how I'm moving around with my thumb from note to note. I play when I want definite pitches on the keys, and then when I want to slide, I use my thumb to get there. It doesn't have to be the thumb, it can be any finger. And I want to point out that on any other instrument, this would be impossible because of a lot of things you heard me say. But also think about it this way. You know, I'm playing an octave down here, right? I'm not moving it pitch-wise, but I'm moving all this. You know, most synthesizers, if you bend the pitch, like if I did this, it would all go. And everything would, you know, you walk into Guitar Center or something like that and you bend the pitch while you're holding a chord, everything is going to be like, but if you try to do something like this where you play two notes and one goes up and one goes down, that is not going to happen. And it's also, I'm just on the keys. There's no pitch wheel. So I'm able to, you know, wave to all of you while I bend pitch here. You know, ordinarily, most players are doing something on the pitch wheel, which has nothing to do with the right hand. And of course, you know, I like playing the pitch wheel. It's fun. But the more I play the Seaboard, the more I realize there's a whole lot of other kinds of expression, other things you can do. And I do want to say this one other very important point, and I'm going to look you straight in the eye while I do this. The Seaboard is meant to replace a traditional piano keyboard. It really has reinvented the piano keyboard. That's what we're working on. We're working on the evolution of the piano keyboard as we know it, which is a major concept. And I want to just do a shout out to my good friend Roland Lamb, who is the inventor. He's a young man, super creative, great, you know, for music, and he was in art school. After going to Harvard, he went to art school, and he started doing these pours. The Seaboard is a silicone spread, sensors underneath, and you know he knew enough about, and I guess electronics as well, to do the original molds of the Seaboard, which was so cool. And there's pictures he showed me of doing that. And when he came to my house a couple of years ago and he showed me this, it was so like, I was like, where have you been? Because this is right up my alley. I had been dreaming, and as a lot of you know, I've been creating apps and working with continuums, and you know, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to have like a key where I could play definite notes, but I wanted the ability as well. Literally a dream I had for so long. And Roland was working on this, and he brought it to my house, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to be, you know, it was so obvious that we're going to be. So since he came over, we have been working together, and I've been helping with some of the design ideas, and you know, making sure that everything we do is got the right musical kind of like foundation, and is great and feels great for musicians and is playable. My job, and I take my job very seriously, but also a big part of it, and one of the reasons I want to do these master classes and reach out to all of you is because it's important to understand what this is and how to play it. You know, you look at, I don't understand that at all. So, or you see a keyboard and you're like a little bit scared of it. Let's something else, and then I'm going to start taking some questions very, very soon, right after this. I just want to say that again. So the keys, the notes you play. Like if you play an A, you play right on. You look right for the center, right? But the note starts at the top of the ribbon and goes to the bottom of the ribbon. But the same is true for the black keys. So if you play, like a B flat here, realize that in these little dips, right? They're like dips and valleys. In the dip is a continuation of the note. So if you want to play A to B flat, you can play A here and B flat literally there. Play a B flat major chord this way. Doesn't have to be like that. I could play, which is cool to think about because the B flat is all the way throughout. It's here as well. So if I want to bend from F to B flat and go, when I was, for the first year, I would play F and then I was slide and think that I needed to go up here, but I don't. You can go here and land right in the valley there. And that's true for any black note. And again, a lot of players you'll see on the Seaboard will connect, will play close in the ribbon, will play close to the keys so they can feel the bumps as they go and then stop directly on the keyboard. So a lot of information. Again, if you have a Seaboard and you have some burning questions, I want you to get those answered. Our support team is handpicked. Some of the guys I picked out myself. They're amazing. It's ROLI.com/support. If they don't get back to you, I want to know about it because I'll have a word with them. But they're great, and they'll get you going because this is a new instrument, and there are questions. I want to say that we're trying to make the Seaboard, and more it's becoming that, a plug-and-play experience. So you can get it, you can plug it in. And the future of it is that you won't necessarily need to have an iPad or a computer with you at all. The future of it, have Seaboards, is that there's an embedded possibility as well. There's hardware inside the keyboard which you can actually have embedded sounds and just take the Seaboard out with you to a gig. So, and now I'm going to tell you all about the new Dream Theater album after this short break. Okay, the break's over. I'm not going to tell you. Some questions. Here we go. Okay, so I'm looking at them now. Can we adjust the sound volume with dragging the finger on the key? Well, yes, you can, because you can have pressure assigned to the volume. Like right now, I have a lot of pressure. Salesel says, ROLI, can you use it with a normal keyboard? The Seaboard can be used with any MIDI. It's a MIDI instrument, so you could actually send MIDI to as a sound engine in it and do it that way. That is certainly possible. Am I coming to Armenia? Actually, I've got a flight out there tomorrow. I plan on arriving about 10 a.m. If you could pick me up at the airport, that'd be great. Next question. Cool. All right. Is this replacing the Hawken Continuum for songs like the Octavarium intro? You know, it could. There's still things that I really like about the Hawken Continuum as well. Like one of the things that I will point out, the Seaboard responds to left-right position. It responds really beautifully to pressure. At the moment, in the first models, it's not responding to the y-axis, which is the vertical axis. So the Continuum does do that. So yeah, like I don't have the advantages of that I can riff like that. On the Continuum would be very hard. But playing something where like you play a note and maybe you press in and you push vertically, that's something that is like a MorphWiz thing. You know, I have my MorphWiz app, and you can do that kind of thing. And the Continuum does that. So this doesn't really replace it. They live together very beautifully. A keyboardist, the Seaboard is going to make more sense. I think for the world in general, I think, an instrument that's based on a familiar form makes more sense as well. But I think the Continuum is a beautiful instrument. I'm glad I play it. It's got some great, it's very organic. It's wonderful. Yeah. And greetings to Senegal West as well. And how much does it cost? And maybe Evan will chime in, because I know he's there if he wants to put up prices. The Seaboard. You can also go to ROLI.com. I try to put the prices in one ear and out the other. So some of the sounds that I'm playing. Yeah, a lot of the sounds I'm playing. Right now I'm actually using a program called Reaper. I don't know if some of you have Reaper. But Reaper actually will call up entire projects within one file. And what I can do is, for instance, this sound, which I love so much. This is an omnisphere sound. So one of the projects in Reaper is an omnisphere sound. And omnisphere is a multi-timbral instrument. Again, I was going to say the Continuum. The Seaboard sends out on different channels for every day. So in omnisphere, you have to go and you have to set it up and clone one part. For those of you who have omnisphere, clone one part and put it on 8 parts and make sure that the Seaboard is sending out on 8 channels. And then you can do it. And you just have to set the bend range so it lines up. It's a little bit of work to do that, and that's the reason we're creating things like Equator. And I think those of you who have Seaboard, those of you who own Seaboards now, you should have Equator. If you don't, you should go get it, because it's available as a beta. I think it's still beta. But when it first came out, we shipped with something called Synth Squad, which was kind of a plug-and-play experience as well. Basically, it has to receive independent voices. It was a good guess when you said Omnisphere. And I don't really have a piano sound called up right now, nor play piano, but you'd want to turn off all the pitch bend and kind of you might as well not even use a Seaboard if you're going to play a piano sound, although it's certainly possible. Can we change the MIDI parameter as well, or a Kronos? It's mostly about the software. There's a piece of software called Dashboard, like the gateway to whatever plugins that you're using where you can have certain settings. But there's a way, like in our Equator software, there's a way for every physical gesture that you do, whether it's pressure, strike, velocity, to control the curve of it. So that's the kind of thing you really want to do. So, and ROLI plays nice with others too, because we're working with the other companies on a way to make sure that we can interface with as many, different types of software and different companies as possible. Yes, Jordan, how does the Seaboard work with the controller? It's up to how you're using it, with what software you're using it. A lot of the controls that you'd want to, do, like if you want to do certain like splits and layers and stuff like that, you would do it in software. Let's see, can we? No, you can't listen to that right now. Next time, next time I do a Masterclass, I'll have prepared like a little piano thing. Yeah. So, do you have any bending tips for entire chords? Yes. And another question is, bending tips for entire. You can do that, which of course is very cool. You can take a chord, and if I move my hands down to the ribbon, that's really actually pretty cool. It sounds like a pedal steel or a lap steel. Yeah, I've been working on it. It's really, really cool. We're asking about playing the Seaboard with Dream Theater, and yes, I will be playing the Seaboard with Dream Theater. One of the challenges has been that ROLI has just been kind of developing as a company, and we've just been making it possible to get to all these sounds more easily. So on the first album, when the Seaboard first came out, there was really not much I could do. And this album, we started working on it a while ago, and also we're at a point where we're just starting to have a bunch of sounds available. So I plan to take the Seaboard into the studio, actually sometime pretty soon, and start inject some of the Seaboard magic in some of the parts. So yes, I will use the Seaboard, and as the Seaboard develops more and more, I'll use the Seaboard more and more as well, because and also I'm getting much better at playing it, which is really, really cool. Somebody says, Zach says, how many sounds are we to expect coming from the Seaboard? Well, it's limitless in the sense that, it's a MIDI instrument. So you have as many sounds as possible. I mean, right now I'm connected to, again, Reaper, and I can play whatever sounds I basically call up. But again, the limitation is if you're going to use something like a standard software instrument that's not necessarily multi-timbral right from the get-go, there's going to be some setup. That's why ROLI ships with certain software that is, immediate. Here's a pretty cool sound. This is cool because if you play it, right? If you press, and if I let go a little, every note is totally independent, so I can be like, if I slide, kind of creates this weird sound. So I'll press into the low note. So any sound is possible. It's just a matter of if it's something that is going to be immediate, if there's a little bit of setup. Okay, any tips on practicing? Yes, there's definitely tips on practicing the Seaboard. If you're if you have one, your fingers always want to go in the valleys when playing a fast scale. One of the things to realize and become comfortable with, and this question is by Klebert. It's a good question, and I've been practicing this as well. Is it's a game really. Knowing that you're aiming for the peaks, right? Just you have to get used to. What I'll do is I'll take something like even, right? And I'll move that all up. And of course, one of the challenges on the Seaboard is playing an F when you're inside. Like if you're playing this D flat, E flat, and you're going to this F here, you have to kind of hit it in this spot. Your fingers have to get used to the feeling of being like on the side of the note, like this. So play like the beginnings of. This is a good one too, because you're inside and you want to play an E flat major, beginning of an E flat major scale. It has to be right in between the G sharp. Again, this is not a traditional keyboard. There are things you can do on this that you can't do on a traditional keyboard, and the things that you can do on the keyboard that you can't really do on this as easily or maybe even at all. But many things that maybe at first you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. You have to practice and become comfortable with. So I'll take like a dominant 7th chord. Slowly, and I'll feel, a lot of it's very tactile. You have to really get in touch with the way that it feels when you're in the right spot. So you do it slowly and listen for the intonation as well. So that's what it's all about, is really feeling it, because it's a new instrument and you want to get used to the way those peaks feel as opposed to the valleys. So, you know, you got to practice it. It's a physical instrument like anything else, but that's what I recommend. It's kind of almost closing your eyes, putting your hand on the seaboard, and what peaks feel like, and getting used to that sensation. And thanks, I guess it's Evan who's answering some of the questions, which is really, really cool, about poly through and all that kind of good stuff, which is very, very cool. Let's see, what other questions? Yeah, tactile. What do we mean by tactile? You get feedback from pressing the keys. Well, it's very organic feeling. If you've ever touched a seaboard, you can really like get a lot of like physical sensation from it. Unlike, you know, it's very different than a keyboard, like the sound off. I got this really interesting feeling. I've had people come up like during like shows, like trade shows or whatever, and press on the seaboard, and they go like, "Wow, that thing feels like really, really cool." And they just want to touch it. So there's something about the way the thing feels really awesome. Jordan, for controllers like resonance, cutoff, etc., but by using Seaboard keyboard, you have to configure that on the computer. Well, you basically you would assign like aftertouch. There's the Seaboard will send out, you know, like channel aftertouch or poly aftertouch, and you would just assign that as you would any other continuous controller within the software. So you feel like if you want to have the cutoff filter assigned to pressure, however you usually assign modulation in that software is the way that you would do it. On Equator, it's really, really easy. And next time I'm going to try to have Equator up so that you can see it on my screen. We're going to work on getting that technology together. So that's really, really kind of cool, because you basically just select, let's say, pressure on the screen. And while that's selected, you just go and you select the other parameter that you want, like cutoff filter. And you can just basically draw how much you want the pressure to. So it's done on the software, and that's, you know, the software is kind of like the interface to the real world. Can I switch sounds with a key? I don't know how to do that, but maybe one of the geniuses at ROLI could figure that out. I've always been curious about the durability of the Seaboard. Is the material, where did that question go? Material something that could tear after heavy use? Well, I've been jamming on mine for a while now, and it's held up. And I worry about it, because it's kind of like, I love this thing and I want to baby it. But the reality is that it's been great. You know, when I first started playing the Seaboard a couple of years ago, some of the prototypes I had were a little more problematic, but this one is a real one. This is like the kind of one that you know, if you bought one, you'd be sent this. And I've already taken this out a lot. I've been to all kinds of trade shows, and where I take it and I put it in a case and I bring it all around with me, and it's working really, really well. So I play it I say that from experience. I mean, you know, I mean, as with anything electronic, something could happen, but I think we really got to a good point right now where the build quality is very, very good. I don't usually jump on it because I feel very uncomfortable about that, but my dog always sleeps on it. That's not true. Next question, please. Tell us more about taking it to a gig, basically. Okay, that's what Zach is saying. So taking it to a gig, I mean, I've got this really cool case that I can take it to a gig with. Can you show him? Can you pick up the case for me? I'm gonna have my assistant here demonstrate the the case technology. This is actually a pretty cool case. It's very lightweight. Because usually I'll take my computer and I've got, you know, a bunch of sounds and software that's all ready to go. And this is the case, and open it up for them so they can see it as well. Hopefully they can, I don't know, can I see that? So it fits right in there. It's very easy. It's very light. Nicely displayed, by the way. Yeah, really easy, really light, and really fun. Can you play two tones with one finger, like B or E? With one finger. I'd have to like put my hand across it. That would be a good trick. There, I did it. I'm playing two tones. I have one finger and this part and this part. I don't know. That's a strange question. The case is lovely. Yes, it is lovely. What about strings or symphonic sounds? Well, I do have a string sound that I love to play here. I'll play it for you for a second. So I love this sound because it's very expressive. I use touch to control things. Like, so I play it very lightly. It's like that. If I press in, I can get all the dynamics. And again, there's no foot pedal or anything here. I'm just using my hands. And every note is independent. So what's cool is you can like do the fades and stuff just with your hands, without a slider, without a foot pedal, without anything. And there's a lot of control there, so it's really, really cool. Are the keys weighted like a regular piano? They're not weighted. They don't go down like a regular piano. It's a surface. It's a silicone surface, and you sensors under the silicone, and the silicone is a kind of, I guess, rubbery type of thing. So when you press a key, it recognizes the force, but it also recognizes the pressure, and then you can press into it like that as well. So it's very different, but again, the distances are the same as a piano, and the you would expect to get a note to sound is very similar to a piano idea too. Like, I don't want to be having to press too hard, and if I like so I can use a fairly light touch to get. Oh, and one of the beautiful things about playing gigs with the Seaboard is that it's actually pretty light, because I see that Arin is it a heavy instrument? No, it's really, really thin, extremely thin, which is an amazing part of the design. And it's light, especially when you put it in this little case that I have here, which I wouldn't recommend putting on a plane in that case. But because it's so thin, it really is easy to travel. It's really, really cool. It's light. So yeah, so we're going to be rounding up here pretty soon. And I just want to say that we're going to be doing this some more. Actually, I want to try to do this maybe like once a month as I can, turning all of you onto the Seaboard, because this thing rocks. As usual, thank you so much for joining. I'll see all of you on the road, ROLI.com. See ya.